It's Apocalypse Revealed by Swedenborg, chapter 18. But it is to be known that no others are here meant, but those who love and kiss that religious persuasion and in heart acknowledge and venerate it. But they who are of the same religious persuasion and acknowledge it indeed because they were born and brought up in it, and do not know anything of their devices and snares for arrogating to themselves divine worship and for possessing and for possessing all the property of all in the world, and still do goods from a sincere heart, and likewise turn their eyes to the Lord, and still do goods from a sincere heart, and likewise turn their eyes to the Lord. These come among the happy after death. For being instructed there, they receive truth and reject the adoration of the Pope and the invocation of the saints, and acknowledge the Lord as the God of heaven and earth, and to take it up into heaven and become angels. On which account also there are many heavenly societies in them, in the spiritual world, over which are set the honorable who have lived in the same manner. It has been given to see that some also were set over those societies, who were emperors, kings, dukes, and princes, who indeed acknowledged the pontiff as the highest official of the church, but not as the vicar of the Lord. Vicar. Yeah. Highest official of the church. Highest official of the church, but not as the vicar of the Lord, and who acknowledged likewise some things from the papal bulls, but yet held the word holy and acted justly in their administration. Concerning these, some things may be seen in the continuation concerning the last judgment and concerning the spiritual world, related from experience. Verse 18. Stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like unto this city? Verse 18. Stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning. Stood afar off. When they see the smoke of her burning, they will exclaim, Was there ever a city like this great city? And were crying out as they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like the great city? Stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like unto this city? Signifies their mourning in a remote state over the condemnation of that religious persuasion, which they believed to be supereminent.
Supereminent.
To be supereminent above every religion in the world. Supereminent above every religion in the world. supereminent. By their standing afar off is signified while they are yet in a state remote from damnation and still in fear of punishments. By their crying, their mourning is signified. By the smoke of burning is signified condemnation on account of the adulteration and profanation of the word. By their saying, "What is like unto this city?" is signified that they believed that religious persuasion was supereminent above every religion in the world. By that great city, that religious persuasion is signified as often above, that they believe that religious persuasion to be supereminent above every religion. Religious persuasion. Belief like this. To be supereminent above every religion, and that it is the mother, the queen, and the mistress. Mistress. It's like teacher. Mistress is known. Also that it is continually instilled by the canons maybe.
Canons.
Instilled by the canons and monks that they should believe so. And it is also known to those who give attention that they do this from the fire of having dominion and gain. Yet still on account of the authority of their domination, they cannot recede from all its externals. But still they can recede from its internals, since all liberty has been left and is left to man's will and understanding. And thence to his affection and thought. Verse 19, and they cast dust upon their heads and cried, weeping and mourning, saying, Woe, woe! That great city signifies that great city. They will throw dust on their heads and with weeping and mourning cry out, Woe, woe to you, great city! Signifies their interior and exterior grief and mourning, which is lamentation that so eminent a religious persuasion should be altogether destroyed and condemned. By casting dust upon the heads, interior grief and mourning are signified on account of the destruction and condemnation spoken of in what follows. By crying out, weeping and mourning is signified exterior grief and mourning. By weeping is signified mourning of soul, and by mourning grief of heart. By woe, woe, that city is signified grievous lamentation over her destruction and condemnation. That woe signifies lamentation over calamity, infelicity, and condemnation, and hence woe, woe, a grievous lamentation may be seen, and that city signifies that religious persuasion, that interior pain and nourishing, that interior pain and mourning on account of the destruction and condemnation is signified by casting dust upon the head, may be evident from the following passages. They shall cry bitterly, and shall cast dust upon their heads, and shall roll themselves in ashes. Ezekiel 27:30. The daughters of Zion sit upon the earth, they have cast dust upon their heads. Lamentations 2:10. The friends of Job rent their mantles and sprinkled dust upon their heads. Job 2:12. Come down and sit in the dust, O daughter of Babel. Sit on the earth. There is no throne for thee. Isaiah 47:1. Besides other places. The reason of their casting dust upon their heads when they grieved inmostly was because dust signifies what is condemned, as in manifest from Genesis 3:14, Matthew 10:14, Mark 6:11, Luke 10:10-12, and dust upon the head represented the acknowledgement that of themselves they were condemned, and thus repentance, as in Matthew 11:21, Luke 10:13. The dust signifies what is condemned, is because the earth of the hells in the spiritual world consists of mere dust without growth and herbage. In which all that had ships in the sea were made rich from her costliness. For in 1 hour they were devastated, signifies on this account, that by the holy things of that religious persuasion, all, as many as were willing to buy, were absolved.
Absolved.
Like liberate. Were forgiven. Were forgiven. Like were absolved. And for worldly and temporal riches received spiritual and eternal riches, and that now not any. By being made rich from her costliness is signified to appease God by the holy things of that religious persuasion, or to believe that for temporal and temporary merchandise or riches they would receive spiritual and eternal merchandise or riches, that is, that for gold, silver, precious stone, pearls, purple, and the other things which are enumerated, verses 12-13. They would receive blessings and felicities after death. These things are meant by the costliness with which they say that they were made rich by that city. That they also speak thus is known. By they were devastated in 1 hour signified that on account of the destruction of that religious persuasion, no one can hereafter buy the holy things. From these things it is manifest that by these words are signified the things which were quoted above, that the holy things of the church are signified by things costly, is manifest from these passages. Blessed, O Jehovah, is the land of Joseph, for the precious things of heaven, for the precious things of the products of the sun, and for the precious things of the produce of the months. And for the precious things of the hills of eternity, and for the precious things of the earth. Deuteronomy 33:13-16. In is Ephraim, my precious son, a child delights. Jeremiah 31:20. By Ephraim, the understanding of the word is meant. The sons of Zion were esteemed more precious than pure gold. Lamentations 4:2. The sons of Zion are the truth of the church. Besides elsewhere, as Isaiah 13:12, 43:4, Psalms 36:7, 45:9, 49:8, 72:14. Hence now it is said that from the city all that had ships in the sea were made rich by her costliness. Verse 20. Exalt O her, O heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets. For God hath judged your judgment upon her. Exalt O her, O heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets. For God hath judged your judgment upon her, signifies that the angels of heaven and the men of the church, who are in goods and truths from the word, should rejoice in heart that those who are in the evils and falsities of that religious persuasion are removed and rejected. Exalt over her, O heaven, signifies that the angels of heaven should now rejoice in heart, for exaltation is joy of the heart. And ye holy apostles and prophets signifies, and together with them the men of the church who are in the goods and truths from the word. By the apostles, those are signified who are in the goods and thence in the truths of the church from the word, and abstractly the goods and thence the truths of the church from the word. And by prophets are signified truths from good from the word, who are called holy because the apostles and prophets, as was said, signify abstractly the goods and truth of the word, which in themselves are holy, because the Lord's. For God hath judged your judgment upon her, signifies because they who are in the evils and falsities of that religious persuasion are removed and rejected. That no others are rejected may be seen above. The joy of the angels of heaven over the removal and rejection of those who are in the evils and falsities of that religious persuasion is treated of in the following chapter from verses 1-9. Here only that they should rejoice. But the angelic joy is not from their condemnation, but from the new heaven and the new church, and the salvation of the faithful, which things cannot be given before they are removed, which is done and has been done by the last judgment, on which subject something will be seen in the explanation of verses 7, 8, 9 of the following chapter. From this it may be evident that exalt over her, O heaven, exalt over her, rejoice, exalt over her, O heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath judged your judgment upon her, signifies that the angel of heaven and the men of the church who are in goods and truths from the word should rejoice in heart, that they who are in the evils and falsities of that religious persuasion and are removed and rejected. Who cannot see that the apostles and prophets spoken of in the word are not here meant? They were few and not more excellent than others, but by them are meant all in the Lord's church who are in goods and truths from the word, as also by the 12 tribes of Israel, spoken of above. By the apostle Peter, the truth of or faith of the church is meant. By the apostle James, the charity of the church, and by the apostle John, the works of charity of men of the church. Verse 21. This chapter has 34 verses. 31. And one strong angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall not be found any more. Signifies that by a strong influx of the Lord out of heaven, that religious persuasion, with all its adulterated truths of the word, will be cast headlong into hell, and will not at all appear to the angels anymore. By one strong angel took up a powerful influx of the Lord out of heaven is signified. One strong angel took up. It's a powerful influx of the Lord out of heaven is signified. For by an angel is signified the Lord and his operation, which is effected through heaven. Here, because he is called a strong angel, and he took up a stone like a great millstone. Powerful operation is signified, which is a powerful influx. By a stone like a great millstone, the adulterated and profane truths of the word are signified. For by a stone, truth is signified, and by mill is signified the searching for, investigation, and confirmation of truth from the word. But here the adulteration and profanation of the truth of the word, as it is said of Babylon. By casting into the sea is signified into hell. By thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, is signified that thus that religious persuasion was to be cast into hell. But it was not found anymore, is signified that it will no longer appear to the angels. This is signified because all from that religious persuasion who are in its evils and falsities come indeed after death into the world of spirits. For that world is like a forum.
Forum.
For that world is like a forum, in which all are at first gathered together, and it is like the stomach, into which all foods are first collected. The stomach also corresponds to that world. But at this day, because it is after the last judgment, which was accomplished in the year 1757, it is not allowed them as before to tarry in that world, and to form to themselves as it were heavens. But as soon as they arrive there, they are sent to societies which are in conjunction with the hells, into which also they are cast from time to time, and thus care is taken by the Lord that they shall no longer appear to the angels. It is this, therefore, which is signified by that city, that is, that religious persuasion being found no more. Since the truth of the word adulterated is signified by the millstone and by the sea, hell, the Lord therefore says, He that shall offend one of the little ones that believe in me, it were better for him that an ass millstone were hanged about his neck, and he were immersed into the depth of the sea. Matthew 18:6. As millstone. It is called a millstone in Mark 9:42, Luke 17:2. Of Babel nearly the same is said in Jeremiah. When thou hast made an end of reading this book, thou shalt bind a stone upon it, and shalt cast it into the midst of the Euphrates, and shalt say, Thus shall Babel be submerged, and shall not rise again. Jeremiah 51:63-64. By the midst of the Euphrates is meant the same as by the sea, because the river Euphrates bounded and separated Assyria, where Babel was, from the land of Canaan. Verse 22. And the voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall not be heard in thee any more, signifies that there will not be with them any affection of spiritual truth and good, nor any affection of celestial truth and good, By voice is meant sound, and every sound corresponds to any affection which is of love, since it arises therefrom. From this it is that the sound of the harp, of music, and of the pipe from correspondence signify affections. But the affections are of two kinds, spiritual and celestial. Spiritual affections are affections of wisdom, and celestial affections are affections of love. They differ from each other as the heavens, which are distinguished into two kingdoms, the celestial and the spiritual, as has several times been said above. There are therefore musical. Therefore, musical instruments whose sounds have relation to spiritual affections, and there are those who are relate. There are those which have. Once again, there are therefore musical instruments whose sounds have relation to spiritual affections, and there are those which have relation to celestial affections. The voice of sound of harpers and musicians has relation to spiritual affections, and the voice of sound of pipers and trumpets to celestial affections. For the instruments whose sounds are discrete, as stringed instruments, pertain to the discrete.
Discrete.
Discrete, okay, discrete. Stringed instruments pertain to the class of spiritual affections, and the instruments whose sounds are continuous, as wind instruments, pertain to the class of celestial affections. Hence it is that the voice or sound of harpers and musicians signifies the affection of spiritual good and truth, and the voice or sound of pipers and trumpeters signifies affection of celestial good and truth. That the sound of the harp from correspondence signifies confession from the affection of spiritual truth may be seen. It is he meant that they who are in the evils and falsities of the Roman Catholic religious persuasion have no affections of spiritual truth and good, nor any affections of celestial truth and good, because it is said that the voice of harpers and of musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall not be heard in thee any more. The reason that they do not have them is because they cannot be given with them, for they have not any truth from the word, and because they have no truth, neither have they any good. The latter is given to those only who desire truth, but no others desire truth from spiritual affection. But they who go to the Lord, these, according to this their desire, are instructed by the angels after death, and receive truth, the external affections in which they are while they are here in masses and in other devotions which are without truth from the Lord through the word, are merely natural, sensual, and corporeal. And as they are such and are without internals from the Lord, it is not to be wondered at that in this thick darkness and blindness they are carried away to the worship of living and dead men, and to sacrifice to demons who are called Plutus, to make expiation for their souls. And no artificer, and no artificer of any art shall be found in thee anymore, signifies that they who are in that religious persuasion from doctrine and from a life according to it have no understanding, of spiritual truth, and hence no thought of spiritual truth, so far as it is from themselves. By an artificer, artificer, By an artificer, in the spiritual sense of the word, is signified one that is intelligent. One that is intelligent and thinks from the understanding. In the good sense, one that from the understanding thinks truths, which are heavenly. And in the evil sense, one that from the understanding thinks falsities, which are infernal. And thus the latter and the former are of many kinds, and each kind of many species, and each species again of many kinds, and species which, however, are called particulars and singulars. Singulars. It is therefore said, no artificer, no artificer of any art. By artificers also, from their handicrafts and arts, such things are signified from correspondence as are of wisdom, intelligence, and knowledge. It is said from correspondence, because all human work corresponds, and likewise every operation, provided it be of any use, to such things as are of angelic intelligence. But the works of artificers in gold, silver, and precious stones correspond to one kind of matters or subjects of angelic intelligence. Those of artificers in brass, iron, wood, and stone to other kinds, and to others those of artificers in other desirable uses, as clothes, linens, garments, and clothing of various kinds. All these correspond, as has been said, because they are works. From these things it may appear that by an artificer of any art shall not be found in Babylon is not meant that there shall not be any artificers there, but that there will not be any understanding of spiritual truth, and thence no thought of spiritual truth. But this is only with those who are in that religious persuasion from its doctrine, and from a life according to it, and also as far as it is from themselves. That an artificer signifies those who are in the understanding of truth, and thence in the thought of truth may appear from these passages. Bezalel and Aholiab, the artificers, shall make the tabernacle, for they are filled with wisdom, intelligence, and science. Exodus 31:3, 36:1-2. and every one wise in heart among them, doing the work, they made the habitation the work of the artificer. Exodus 36:8. Thou shalt make the habitation of fine twined, twined,
twined,
twined like twist, fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet double dyed, and cherubim with double dyed,
double dyed,
and cherubim with the work of the artificer shalt thou make them. Exodus 26:1. Thou shalt make the veil in like manner with the work of the artificer. Exodus 26:31, 35, 35. In like manner, the ephod with the work of the artificer, as also the breastplate. Exodus 28:6, 39, 8. Artificer is there expressed by a word which also signifies a designer. Thou shalt engrave 2 stones, which thou shalt put upon the shoulders of the ephod, with the work of an artificer in gems. Gemstone, jewel. Exodus 28:11. In the opposite sense, by the work of an artificer is signified that work which is done from one's own intelligence, from which nothing else can be produced by falsities. This is meant by the work of the artificer in these passages. They shall make a molten image of the silver in their own intelligence, the work of artificers. Hosea 13:2. The artificer casteth the graven image, and the founder spreadeth it over with gold, and maketh silver chains. He seeketh a wise artificer. Isaiah 40:19-20. He cutteth wood out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman. Silver is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Euphas. The work of the artificer, blue and purple, are their garments, the whole the work of the wise. Jeremiah 10:3-9, also Deuteronomy 27:15. The titles signify falsities of worship and religion from one's own intelligence may be seen above. And the voice of the millstone shall not be heard any more in thee, signifies that they who are in that religious persuasion from doctrine, and from a life according to it, make no inquiry after.
inquiry,
Inquiry like investigation. No inquiry after, examination of and confirmation of spiritual truth, because falsity received and confirmed, and thus implanted stands in the way. By the voice of the mill, nothing else is signified but the inquiry after, examination and confirmation of spiritual truth, especially from the word. The reason why this is signified by the voice of the mill or by grinding is because wheat and barley, which are ground, signifies celestial and spiritual good, and therefore meal and fine flour signifies truth from that good. For all truth is from good, and all truth which is not from spiritual good is not spiritual. It is said, the voice of the mill, because things spiritual throughout the word are denoted by things instrumental, denoted, by things instrumental.
Instrumental.
By things instrumental, which are the ultimates of nature. As for
Ultimates.
ultimates, like final. Ultimates of nature, as for example, spiritual truths and goods, are denoted by cups, vials, bottles, platters, and many other vessels, as may be seen above, by which is signified the good of the church from the word, and by fine flour of wheat is signified the truth from that good. That a meal signifies inquiry after examination and confirmation of spiritual truth. See the following passage. Jesus said in the consummation of the age, two shall be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other shall be left. Two shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other shall be left. Matthew 24:40-41. By the consummation of the age is meant the end of the church, when the last judgment is executed. By the field the church is signified, because the harvest is there. By them that grind at the millstone, that grind.
Grind.
By them that grind at the mill are signified those in the church who search after truth. By those that are taken, they too find and receive them are signified. And by them that are left, those who do not search after nor receive them, because they are in falsities. I will take from them the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride, the voice of the mills and the light of a lamp. Jeremiah 25:10. By the voice of the mills in this passage, the like is signified as here in Revelation. Thou shalt not take the mill nor the millstone of pledge.
Pledge.
Pledge. Pledge. Obligation, like this. Pledge. Nor the millstone to pledge, for he taketh the soul to pledge. Deuteronomy 24:6. The mill is here called to the soul, because by the soul is signified the truth of wisdom and faith. In the opposite sense, the investigation and confirmation of falsity is signified by mill, as is evident in these passages. They led away the young man to grind at the mill, and the boys fell down under the wood. Lamentations 5:13. Sit on the dust, O daughter of Babel. Take the mill and grind mill. Uncover thy locks, uncover thy things. Pass over the streams. Let thy nakedness be uncovered, and let thy shame be seen. Isaiah 47:1-3. Let thy shame be seen. Take the mill and grind mill signifies to search after and to investigate falsities for the sake of confirming them. But this shall be illustrated by an example. Who cannot see that they who are in Babylon have searched after and investigated how they could confirm this enormous
Enormous.
Enormous, like huge. This enormous falsity that the bread and wine in the Eucharist should be divided, that the bread should be given to the laity and the wine to the clergy. This may be seen from merely reading the confirmation decreed in the Council of Trent and established by a bull which reads thus, that immediately after consecration the true body and true blood of Jesus Christ together with his soul and divinity are truly, really, and substantially substantially, like really, substantially, essentially, substantially, contained the bread and wine, his body under the appearance of bread, and his blood under the appearance of wine from the force of the words, but the body itself under the appearance of wine, and the blood under the appearance of bread, and the soul under both by the force of the natural connection and concomitance, connection and concomitance,
Concomitance.
and concomitance, whereby the parts of the Lord Christ are united to each other, and his divinity by reason of that admirable,
Admirable.
like excellent, delightful, admirable,
Admirable.
of that admirable, hypostatic union with the body and soul. Hypostatic union with the body and soul. And that just as much is contained under each kind as under both, and that the whole and entire Christ exists under the appearance of bread, and under every part of that appearance, and the whole also under the appearance of wine and the parts thereof. Also that water is to be mixed with the wine. These are their very words, and that these words are contrary to the force of the Lord's words, they themselves confess. Who that is of sound judgment does not here see truths themselves inverted and changed into falsities by reasonings which the upright in heart cannot be abominate, But to what end is all this? Is it not solely for the sake of masses, which they call propitiatory, redemptive, propitiatory, call propitiatory sacrifices, most holy, pure, and in them nothing but what is holy, through which they infuse sanctity into the bodily senses of men, and at the same time night in all things of faith and spiritual life. And this to the end that in the midst of thick darkness they may have dominion and gain. And also to cherish the idea concerning the ministers that they are full of the Lord and that the Lord is in them. and that lest they should be fatuated. The wine is for them. Fatuated.
Fatigued. Fatigued.
Fatigued. Fatigued, like tired. Fatigued.
Fatigued.
Fatigued. Fatigued. And that lest they should be fatigued. Fatigued. The wine is for them, and to prevent inebriation.
Inebriation.
Inebriation. Intoxication. Inebriation.
Inebriation.
Inebriation. To prevent inebriation, that water must be in the wine. Inebriation. Verse 23. And the light of a lamp shall not shine in thee any more, signifies that they who are in that religious persuasion from doctrine and from a life according to it have no enlightenment from the Lord, and thence no perception of spiritual truth. By the light of a lamp is signified enlightenment from the Lord, and thence the perception of spiritual truth. For by light is meant the light of heaven, in which the angels are, and men also, as to the understanding, which light in its essence is the divine wisdom. For it proceeds from the Lord as the sun of the spiritual world, which in its substance is the divine love of the divine wisdom, from which no other light can proceed than that which is of the divine wisdom, nor any other heat than that which is of the divine love. That it is so is demonstrated in the angelic wisdom concerning the divine love and wisdom, since that light is from the Lord, and the Lord is omnipresent by it, and in it, therefore all enlightenment is affected by it, and thence the perception of spiritual truth, which those have who love divine truth spiritually, that is, who love truth because they are truth, thus because they are divine. That this is to love the Lord is manifest. For the Lord is omnipresent in that light, because the divine love and the divine wisdom are not in place, but are where they are received and according to their perception. That they who are in the Roman Catholic religious persuasion have not any enlightenment and perception of spiritual truth, thence may be evident from this that they do not love any spiritual light, for the origin of spiritual light is from the Lord, as was said, and no others can accept that light nor receive it, but they who are conjoined with the Lord, and conjunction with the Lord is affected solely by the acknowledgement and worship of Him, and at the same time by a life according to His commandments from the Word. The acknowledgement and worship of the Lord and the reading of the Word cause the presence of the Lord, but these two, together with the life according to His commandments, affect conjunction with Him. In Babylon it is the contrary, that the Lord is acknowledged, but without dominion, and the Word is acknowledged, but without the reading of it. Instead of the Lord, the people is their worship, and instead of the Word, the papal bulls are acknowledged, according to which they live, and not according to the commandments of the Word. And those bulls have for their end the dominion of the Pope and his ministers over heaven and the world. And the commandments of the Word have for their end and Lord's dominion over heaven and the world, and these are diametrically opposite to each other, like hell and heaven. These things are said, that it may be known that they have all together no light in a lamp, that is enlightenment, and thence the perception of spiritual truth, wherein the Babylonish religious persuasion from doctrine and from a life according to it. The Lord is the light from which is all the enlightenment and perception of spiritual truth is manifest from these passages. He was the true light which enlighteneth every man that cometh into the world. John 1:4-12. This is concerning the Lord. This is the judgment that that the light is come into the world. He that doth the truth cometh to the light. Jesus said, Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while ye have the light, lest darkness seize upon you. While ye have the light, believe in the light, that ye may be sons of the light. John 12:35-36. Jesus said, I am come a light into the world, that everyone who believeth in me may not abide in darkness. John 12:46. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. John 9:5. Simeon said, Mine eyes have seen thy salvation, a light for the revelation of the nations. Luke 2:30-32. The people sitting in darkness have seen a great light, and to them that sit in the region and the shadow of death, light has arisen. Matthew 4:16, Isaiah 9:2. I have given thee for a light of the nations, that thou mayest be my salvation even unto the extremity of the earth. Extremity.
Extremity.
Like unto the end of the earth. Extremity. The city, New Jerusalem, has no need of the sun and moon to shine in it, for the glory of God enlighteneth it, and the lamp of it is the lamp. Revelation 21:23-22:5. It is manifest from these passages that the Lord is the light, from which are all enlightenment and thence perception of truth. And because the Lord is the light, the devil is thick darkness, and the devil is the love of ruling over all the holy divine things of the Lord, and thus over himself, and as far as dominion is given to it, so far it darkens, extinguishes, sets on fire, and burns up the holy divine things of the Lord. And the voice of the bridegroom and of bride shall not heard in thee any more signifies that they who are in that religious persuasion from doctrine and from life according to it have no conjunction of good and truth, which makes the church. By voices here signified joy, because it is that of a bridegroom and bride. By bridegroom in the highest sense is meant the Lord as to the divine good, and by a bride the church is meant as to the divine truth from the Lord. For the church is a church from the reception of the Lord's divine good and the divine truths which are from him. That the Lord is called the and likewise the husband, and that the church is called the bride and also the wife, is manifest from the word. It is from this that the heavenly marriage, which is the conjunction of good and truth, like conjunction between soul and the word, and conjunction of good and truth, is therefrom, will be seen in the small work on conjugal love, marriage. Now, because this heavenly marriage is affected by the reception of the divine good from the Lord and the divine truth from the word, divine good from the Lord and the divine truth from the word, by the men of the church, it is manifest that there is no conjunction of good and truth with those who are in that religious persuasion from doctrine and life thence, because they have no conjunction with the Lord, but they have conjunction with men living and dead, and this conjunction with those who are in the love of dominating from the love of self over the holy divine things of the Lord and over the Lord is like conjunction with the devil, who, as was said in the preceding article, is that love and to approach the devil that through him one may come to God is detestable. The Lord is called the bridegroom, and the church, the bride, is manifest from these passages. He that hath the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom, who stands and hears him, rejoiceth with joy because of the bridegroom's voice. John 3:29. John the Baptist says this of the Lord. Jesus said, as long as the bridegroom is with them, the sons of the marriage cannot fast. The days will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them. Then shall they fast. Matthew 9:15, Mark 2:19, 20, Luke 5:34, 35. I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Revelation 21:2. The angel said, come, and I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. Revelation 21:9, 10. The time of the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. Happy are they that are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. Revelation 19:7, 9. By the bridegroom whom the 10 virgins went out to meet, Matthew 25:1, 2. And the Lord is also meant. It is manifest from this what is signified by the voice and the joy of the bridegroom and the bride of the following passages. As the joy of the bridegroom over the bride, thy God shall rejoice over thee. Isaiah 62:5. My soul shall exult over God, as a bridegroom pitteth on a mitre, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. Isaiah 61:10. There shall still be heard in this place the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, saying, let us confess unto Jehovah of hosts. Jeremiah 33:10, 11. Let the bridegroom go forth out of his chamber, and the bride out of her bride chamber. Joel 2:16. I will cause to cease from the streets of Jerusalem the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. Jeremiah 7:34, 69. I will deprive them of the voice of joy and the voice of gladness and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the voice of the mills and the light of a lamp, and the whole land shall be for a desolation by the king of Babel. Jeremiah 25:10, 11. From what has now been said, the series of the things. Okay, it's a big.